Matt for the Random Maker here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build with a kid, a very easy Gumball candy machine. We can pick a name later. Why am I doing this? Number one, it seems any easy to introduction woodwork videos are very popular. It seems everybody in the audience seems to like them. And in my mind, I look at how do we get more, well, not how do I get more people in the hobby, but how do I introduce more people into the hobby? Well, it's teaching kids and giving them the opportunity to build these type of projects to see if they want to get into this type of work. I know me as a kid, the reason I got into this was I was swinging a hammer and building stuff while I was growing up. So this is a project that is relatively very simplistic, low tools, and does not require, well, it requires adult supervision, but a kid could do majority, if not all of the work. And that's the whole idea with this project is kids can do it. Yeah, that's it. Nice and easy, right? Okay, so I am going to put a link in the description below for an Instructable, as my version of this project is very heavily based on, so I feel I need to give credit with Outdoor Girl 16196 in Woodshop Woodworking, and it'll be in the description below. Give them some love. Their project version is based on buying 2x4 and 1x4, and they show you how to break it all down. In my case, I have scraps of wood. I put it through the planer, so I have 1.5, 7/8, 1 inch, and well, I didn't cut a jar, but you get the idea. Their version is buying some stuff, but if you have scrap wood, you don't really, for this project, have to have the exact sizes. It works without it. I was just following some measurements, so people, if they see it there, and when somebody's done a great job on a guide, why would I reinvent the wheel? Okay, how about at this point, let's get making. Now that we're actually getting ready to build, in my case, one of the things I like to do on these smaller projects, especially because we're going to cut these pieces smaller, is I'm actually going to sand first. The reason is very simple. Number one, it's easier to sand pieces when it's bigger, and when they're smaller, it's harder. Now we are going to cut. I am going to get more scratches, more but what it comes down to is it's easier for me to sand and at this stage than it actually is later. So we're going to do most of the sanding right now. Then I'm going to chop it, and then once we're about to glue it and put it back together, then we'll give it another quick sand. Even though in this case you're going to see why I'm not too concerned about it, but still just a good practice when it's smaller pieces. If you can do a lot of the sanding while it's in a bigger piece, I find it easier. So let's get to sanding. What I'm going to do is lay out the pieces. Now, what I'm going to show you is a little bit of a trick with this. Really only matters and works when you have small pieces, because a lot of people, when they're measuring, because we have to have two pieces of 4 inch, because it's 4 inch wide, it wants 4x4, put a mark on the 4. We're going to draw a nice line with my speed square here. Just why? Because I like making it nice and easy, especially if you're having a kid cut with either a handsaw or a skill saw. It's a nice idea for me in my mind to have a nice big line for them. I'd recommend a handsaw if it's a younger kid, or if it's a older kid, they could use a chop saw under your direct supervision. Just be careful there. Okay, now here's one of the things. If I right now take a measurement and pull off the same one, if I mark 8, I'm gonna be 1/8 under on the next one. Reason is, my saw blade, 1/8 of an inch. So on smaller pieces, what I'll tend to do is, because this is processed, well, this is wood I processed myself, I always cut both ends off, and I'm gonna measure 4 inches on the other side. Now, I know some people would say that's kind of a waste, but I find it works for me. We're not wasting any wood, and it just makes it more accurate for me because I have to have 2 of those. Then the next thing we have to do is I do have to have one piece of 3.5 by 3.5. Boom, speed square. Again, I like nice clear lines when I'm working with kids. This project was designed with dimensional lumber in mind. The problem is the 4 to 3.5, because 3.5 is a 2x4, so you can cut 2 scraps off, sand it. One of the things next we want to do is we're going to take our 1 inch piece, and I'm going to cut it. We have to have a 3.5 by 3.5, but we also have to cut a piece at 10. Now, why is this? This is for the slider. and the other parts of the slider. Now, here's the little, this design is pretty good, little ingenious one in my brain, is we're gonna cut this off, and I'm gonna cut them on a table saw to get my extra pieces. It's actually kind of an ingenious little design. So yeah, so we're gonna have to cut some 3.5-inch pieces out of this, but let's see how this works. It's actually a pretty cool little design. So anyway, what I'm gonna do next is measure here. Again, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut 1 inch off here. That'll give me my slider, and then I'll use the rest of this for the sides. So if you look on the design, it's just basically 2 pieces of wood, brings them up, slider, works perfectly. Saw, choppy choppy. You could do this with a hand saw. Now I am going to be cutting the slider that pulls all the candy out. I'm gonna make mine 1.5 inches wide, and it's a minor change. I just wanted to say it because the guide below says 1 inch. One of the tricks I have here is 1.5 inches with my guards and all this. I can't get a push stick in. I'm not putting my fingers in there because that's why the guards are there. What I do is I put the fence on here, and I actually take my tape and I measure from the other side of the table saw blade. And the reason for that is if I do it this way, it takes into account the table saw blade width. Because this is a 3.5-inch piece of wood, I can now get a guard in because I was trying to split it wouldn't work well. So yeah, just measure off your blade and it will give you 1.5 inch. I'll use it there, boom, nice and easy. So let's cut this. All right, so we've got all our pieces. I actually, prior to record it, I did cut some more offcuts off for the sides, because how this is gonna go here is we have a piece here, boom, boom, and just like that. And we'll need to sand it a little nicer, but basically what we're gonna do now is we are going to punch this through, and yeah, there we go. That is how simple this project is. Next step we need to do here is we need to attach, let's get the glass off so we don't break it. We need to attach this to this. Now, the way I am going to do it is I'm gonna drill in, because I have some metal drill bits that can go through here and metal. So I'm gonna attach this onto the wood, and then I'm gonna take it to my drill press here and just cut it that way. I think it's gonna be safer because I have a piece of wood on there. B, I just think it's a better way to do it. You can drill through, cut here if you don't have the tools. You can do it separately with the drill. Just be careful. Metal drill bits, not the best idea, which is why I do want to attach this. So what I'm gonna do to attach it is very simple. I've got a bunch of small little screws. The next thing is to get screws into metal, it's gonna dance all over. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna take, you can use a center punch or other, I'm just gonna take a nail, I'm gonna punch through the metal here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the holes close enough to the edge that it's not gonna interrupt when I drill the middle hole, but because the glass has a thickness. And so what I'm gonna do here is before I go any further, I cannot see any of the glass through the holes, more than far enough away, even with the thickness of the head. Next thing I'm gonna do, I marked my wood when it comes to my lines, and I'm just gonna put some screws in. Here. Okay, and I'm going, before we go any further, boom, test. So I'm gonna put the rest of the screws in, and we should be good to go to start drilling. So whoop. Okay, so I did change my mind. What I'm doing now is cut a hole in using some tin snips, and I'm gonna take a file, knock it out so that it's not so sharp. Okay, so I've got two things left to do. I'm gonna do these two off camera. We're gonna countersink all the holes. Now, if you wanted to, you can glue it, clamp it, and put them all together. The problem is, unless you have all those clamps, it's not gonna be as easy. I'm gonna use a countersink drill bit. This drill bit is gonna drill a hole that these screws are gonna rest inside. What I'm going to do is just slowly build it up. But here's the key. I'm gonna build it up backwards because I'm gonna have screws on the bottom, none on the top. So yeah, that's about it. It's actually a pretty easy idea on this. Just for your information, I am gonna put glue on there too, just because glue and screw, solid. Okay, so I've got two things left to do. I'm gonna do these two off camera just because I don't wanna make this a really short video. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna drill a hole right in the middle of this, and that is to catch the candy. And then I'm gonna sand absolutely everything before we put it together. Super simple, super easy. I didn't see the point I need to show you on there, but yeah. So drill the hole through. I'm gonna sand all the pieces, make it pretty, and then we're gonna start pre-drilling and screwing it all together, and yeah, nice and easy. All right, let's get going.
Okay, you can see what I'm doing here, which is pretty simple. I'm pre-drilling, countersink drilling all my holes, and this will allow so the wood will not split. Okay, well, it's not a guarantee, but it lessens the risk significantly. Now I am going to glue, and I'm not going to use a huge amount because it's not that structural of a piece, but you can see here I'm just building the entire project in reverse. This is also significantly overkill, and yeah, you do not have to go to this extent. It was just a habit, I think is the right word. So yeah. Enjoy the rest of the build. I do sand all the edges, and that will make it look pretty even. Sometimes it's just little differences. So just take a bit of sandpaper and you're good to go. Now I'm just going to use a bit of spray paint and give it a little bit of a color, and that's it.
What I'm going to do next is I'm going to just use a little nail as a handle, and I'm going to measure the middle so it doesn't look completely awful. And then okay, and I'm just going to put the nail, I'm not going to put it all the way, but I'm going to put it up perfectly straight. Okay, next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push the hand all the way through, and I'm gonna put a screw on the other end. And all that does is it prevents it from going through. Okay, now I just took one of the screws that I had for this jar. It doesn't need to be very big, and I'm just gonna put it in. Now you could use a nail, doesn't work as well. We have our Gumball machine. Well, that's about it for the Gumball machine. One thing I will mention is you can replace the screws with nails. The thing I found in testing was the screws, because of where you had to put the nails, there was a good chance the wood would fracture, which is why I went with pre-drilled holes and the screws and glue. And for the painting, you do not have to use a spray can. Let them paint it however you want. And this is a very customizable project. This is my little version of it. Is it the nicest one ever? No. The reason for that is I was trying to find materials and only use as limited tools as I could. So it might in some ways end up a little rougher, but it is something any kid can do. Any kid could enjoy building this, and it's just a lot of fun in the end. Well, if you like this video, do us a favor, hit the like button below. If you want to see more videos from the Random Maker, hit the subscribe button. If you have any projects, requests, anything, put it in the comments below. We're always happy to take on new challenges that people give us. And that's about it in my hope to inspire younger ones to get a love of working with their hands. Well, how about this? I like to send any video off like this. This is Matt from the Random Maker saying until next time, let's get making.